Hey, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Episode 313. I am your host, Lance Brack. And for most people, it may be Labor Day weekend. But for all of us, this was Pro Wrestling Weekend. Had Clash at the Castle last Saturday, and then last night had NXT Worlds Collide, and finishing it off Sunday night, AEW All Out. And on this episode, we're going to talk about All Out. Hopefully, maybe on the next episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, we can try to talk a little bit about the Worlds Collide special. But on this episode, it's going to be All Out. And let's just get right into it with 0 Hour. I don't know if that's going to be the new name for the pre-shows going forward, or if they'll go back to buy-in. Just have to wait and see, I guess, on that one. And Sammy Guevara and Tay Melo taking on Ortiz and Ruby Soho, and we actually start things off a little early in the back. Ortiz and Ruby Soho chasing down Sammy and Ty with a golf cart, and I'm sure most fans already know the history with Sammy Guevara and golf carts. The FTW Championship was on the line. Hook and Cool Hand Angelo Parker. And the AEW All Atlantic Championship, Pac vs. Kip Sabian. Pac is victorious to retain. And then Pac walks up the ramp and is interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and then interrupted by Orange Cassidy. And Pac says he's not a wrestler, he's a joke. And he tells him to get back to the end of the line. Now time for the main event of 0 Hour. Eddie Kingston taking on Tomohiro Ishii. Great match for this one. I would say this one was definitely pay-per-view quality. That actually could have been on the main card of the pay-per-view last night. Hard-hitting, intense, but it is Eddie Kingston getting the win in this one, and after tries to show some respect to Ishii, but Ishii doesn't want any part of it. So that was 0 Hour. Very good pre-show, in my opinion. Had 3 good matches on there. Definitely a great way to get you ready for the pay-per-view. And now it is time for AEW All Out, live from Chicago, Hoffman Estates, Illinois, Now Arena. Our commentators for the evening, we start off with Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Taz. And then later, for the second half of the show, we would be joined by good old JR Jim Ross, and William Regal would join, and Don Callis during the night. And we start off with the Casino Ladder match. Wheeler Yuta and Rey Fenix starting things off. And then it's Roosh, Andrade El Idolo, the Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli, Dante Martin, and Penta El Zero Neo. And then it is time for the Joker. And then a bunch of masked men make their way to the ring. And then one of them, who appears to be the leader, climbs up the ladder and grabs the poker chip. And it's revealed to be Stokely Hathaway and the group that he has recently formed in AEW. And then we hear some music, which I found out it is a Rolling Stone song. And it's a masked man comes out, makes his way to the ring. Stokely Hathaway hands him the poker chip. And that's who the Joker is. He's declared the winner of the casino ladder match. And he looks like he's about to take his mask off and reveal himself. But he does not. And we do find out who that masked man was. But not yet. I'll get to that a little later on in the recap. But for now, let's move on to the tournament finals for the first ever AEW World Trios Championships. We got the Elite, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega taking on the Dark Order and Hangman Adam Page. Great match with these two teams. And unfortunately, it is Hangman Adam Page with a little miss up here. He hits the buckshot lariat on John Silver. Omega gets the pin at 19 minutes 52 seconds. The first ever AEW Trios champions, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Should be interesting to see what happens now with the Hangman and the Dark Order, but very good match with these two. And next, the AEW TBS Championship is on the line. Athena challenging Jade Cargill. This one kind of kept short, but still pretty good match here. Jade retains with Jaded at 4 minutes. Jade Cargill now goes to 37-0 in AEW. Trios match up next. Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns. Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley with Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh in their corner, taking on the AEW TNT champion Wardlow and the Ring of Honor New Japan IWGP Tag Team Champions and the AAA Tag Team Champions FTR. And good match here. 16 minutes 25 seconds. Wardlow pins Chris Sabin with the powerbomb sympathy and 4 power bombs to put Chris Sabin down. And then after the match, the heels go to leave, and then we see Samoa Joe make his way to the ring, make his return to AEW, and then Dax Harwood's daughter gets in the ring and pins Sanjay Dutt to get some payback for calling her a little brat. And next up, former Team Taz teammates, Powerhouse Hobbs versus Ricky Starks. And another one I was looking forward to see here. Good match. Powerhouse Hobbs, gets the win. Next up, All Out continues with a match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Swerve in Our Glory taking on the Acclaimed with Billy Gunn in their corner. And sorry about that, had to pause the recording real quick. And we're back. I was saying, really great tag team match here for the tag titles with Swerve in Our Glory, Keith Lee, and Swerve Strickland taking on the Acclaimed, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster with Billy Gunn in their corner. And this one, very entertaining. And it started off with a chant. They started the Swerve in Our Glory chant for Keith Lee, and then they started and turned into Oh Scissor Me Daddy for the Acclaimed. And great match here. And this one, this one really surprised me. Not that, don't get me wrong, it's not that I thought this was going to be a bad match or anything, but it was a lot better than I expected it to be. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And the crowd there was just very into this one. And Anthony Bowens had a great performance selling the injury and keep coming back. And I said this yesterday about Clash at the Castle, or not yesterday, Saturday I should say, at Clash at the Castle about Sheamus and Gunther. That match, how impressed I was by Sheamus. And for this one, it's with the Acclaimed. This is definitely the best match that I have seen the Acclaimed work, especially Anthony Bowens. He was just so impressive in this match, and a great effort by both teams. Is Swerve Strickland, though, pinning Anthony Bowens at 22 minutes 26 seconds to regain the tag team championships for his team. But I've heard people say maybe they could have called an audible and let the Acclaimed win the tag team titles, since they were so over and were having such a great match. And this could, just like I said about Sheamus and Gunther, this could be maybe my pick for match of the night. I was definitely entertained throughout this whole match, and it didn't drag at all or nothing. Now we move on to the match for the AEW Interim World Women's Championship. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, taking on Jamie Hayter, Toni Storm, and Hikaru Shida. This match was very good as well, I thought, and we have a new interim women's champion in Toni Storm. She pinned Jamie Hayter at 14 minutes 42 seconds to get her first AEW championship. Very good match. And the match that has been built up for a while, Christian Cage taking on Jungle Boy. But before the match starts, we see Jungle Boy, his mom and his daughter in the front row, and then time for Jungle Boy's entrance. But we see Luchasaurus make his way out of the heel tunnel and attack Jungle Boy, turning heel again and chokeslamming him onto the steel grate part of the entrance. And man, right away you can see the lines from the grates on Jungle Boy's back, and you could even see a few little cuts as well. Nasty looking, the back of Jungle Boy. And then Luchasaurus picked him up, carried him down to ringside, power bombed him through the timekeeper's table, and then threw him in the ring. And then Christian Cage defeats him in 20 seconds with the kill switch for the win. And what I have seen so far, I haven't had a chance to read everything, but the match was cut short due to injury. And speaking of injuries, I seen during the night that I forgot to mention it earlier though, but during the 0 hour, Ruby Soho broke her nose during that match. And I apologize, I also forgot to mention that match was for the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championships. Now, at All Out, it is time for Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho, the American Dragon versus Lionheart. Great match here. Maybe another candidate for match of the night. Jericho distracts Aubrey Edwards, hits a low blow on Danielson, gets the win 23 minutes, 40 seconds. But very good match here. And then we see Daniel Garcia looking very disappointed in Chris Jericho. And then later on, we see them in the back. And Jericho says that he is going to face Bryan Danielson, and he will not have Chris Jericho or the Jericho Appreciation Society there to have his back. Another trios match is up next, as it is Darby Allin, Sting, and Miro taking on the House of Black. Good match here, I thought. And it is Sting, I believe, for the first time ever, using the mist into the face of Malachi Black. And Darby gets the pin for his team. 12 minutes, 11 seconds. This one was pretty good, like I said. At first, though, I kind of expected Miro to turn on Sting and Darby Allin because he started off the match and then he wanted to stay in there. He would not tag Sting and Darby at all. And then Darby finally had to just go out, tag his shoulder, do a blind tag, and Miro didn't look too happy about that, and I thought maybe he was going to be upset and maybe walk off and leave Sting and Darby by themselves, but he didn't though. And now it is time for the main event of the evening for the AEW World Championship. CM Punk versus Jon Moxley. And these two have a great match, in my opinion, I thought anyway. And it is still AEW World Champion CM Punk at 20 minutes with the GTS and still AEW World Champion CM Punk And then after the match, the lights go out, and then we see on the screen the masked man who was the Joker in the casino ladder match comes out, or he's on the screen, I should say. He takes the mask off. He has his back turned, and then we see him put on a familiar scarf. And so, of course, you know who that is. The return of Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, back in AEW. And then his music hits in the arena, and he makes his way to the stage, and he does the motion. He wants that world title. And the next pay-per-view for AEW is Full Gear, November 19th. And I'm guessing there's a very good chance that could be the main event from the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Because the winner of the casino ladder match, of course, gets a title shot anytime, anywhere they want it. So that could be taking place at Full Gear in November. And that was All Elite Wrestling All Out 2022. And in my opinion, it definitely did not disappoint. It was a great card. I definitely enjoyed it. Hope all of you did too. And not just All Out, but the whole weekend. Clash at the Castle is another show that I thought was great. And to be honest, this whole weekend, I didn't really even think there was a bad match. Just my opinion, but I don't think any of the matches, either Saturday or Sunday, were bad at all. Either good or very good or great. I mean, like I said, Sheamus impressed me very much. The main event of Clash at the Castle was very good as well. And tonight, or last night, with holidays, sometimes my days get mixed up. But last night, All Out, the World Tag Team title match, definitely one of my picks for match of the night. And I might have to put Danielson and Jericho in that discussion as well. And the world title match, CM Punk and Jon Moxley. And speaking of CM Punk, there was some news coming out now about last night's All Out media scrum. I have not had a chance to watch the video yet, but what I have seen is some people in the AEW locker room, especially Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, were not happy with some of the things that Punk had to say about Hangman Adam Page and the Young Bucks, and maybe some other things too. One thing I saw is they threatened to walk out due to the comments. And just about 52 minutes ago, or at least that's what my phone says anyway, from the WrestleFeed app, it says, fight breaks out between CM Punk and Young Bucks. I have not read that whole thing yet, but probably I hope to on the next episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic to read more of that and also talk more about it here on the podcast on the next episode. And so overall, great wrestling weekend. Hope everyone has enjoyed it. And happy Labor Day too, I guess. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to have another episode up soon. And I'll try to discuss Worlds Collide more. And thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, 360wrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you want to tell me your pick for the best match over the weekend at either Clash of the Castle or All Out or both shows or all three shows, I should say, Worlds Collide too, or you can, on this podcast will be on YouTube, you could leave your pick for match of the weekend or match of the night, whichever, in the comment section on YouTube, or if the podcast website you're listening to has a comment section, you can leave a comment for which you thought was the best match of each show or just the whole weekend. And let me know what you thought about each show. All Out, Clash at the Castle, and Worlds Collide over this big weekend. And remember, if you can support 360 Wrestling Podcast, you can. You don't have to. And if you can, doesn't have to be much. Every little bit helps. Help support 360 Wrestling Podcast. Make it bigger and better than ever. First, anchor.fm/360-wrestling-podcast. I'll put that in the description. Streamlabs.com/360 Wrestling Podcast. Both of them will be in the description. So thank you very much for tuning in for this Labor Day episode 313. Until the next episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hope to see you again soon. Hope everyone is there to listen to the next episode. I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.